Hey friends, welcome back to the channel. I know I've been gone for a hot minute. I had my birthday, then the holidays. Um, Work picked up a bit. I've had some other continuing issues. I've spoken before about some of my health issues and just dealing with that. But I'm back. I know we wanted to keep going with the Ireland series, but while I was on vacation, I actually was reading a lot about the Boxer Rebellion. Now, for those of you that don't know what the Boxer Rebellion was, the Boxer Rebellion was it kind of was a world war in its own sense. It was when the Western powers in Japan um, was challenged by an organization called the Boxers in China, who had support of the empire, the Empress, actually, the Dowager Empress of China. So that's what our next series is going to reflect around. Today, I thought we'd start with something easy, something fun. We're going to listen to one of my favorite songs. It's called 55 Days at Peking. A lot of people don't know what Peking is. Peking is actually the capital of China. We know it today as Beijing, but it was called Peking back then. So we're going to listen to the song. I'm going to probably do some dialogue while the song's going on, like I usually try to do. And then, yeah, we'll start our next series that will bring us all the way up until Christmas. And then we'll start a new one there. I will be doing a series on the Christmas truce that will release on Christmas. But yeah, thanks for those of you that stayed. Thank you so much. I really appreciate it. I was very busy. I had a lot going on between work and everything. Like I always say in my comments and all that, I am a single person running this channel. I do it for fun. I do it just so we can share history together. So thank you so much for sticking by me. And let's get into this. Alright, friends. So we're going to be watching these videos from History Video Makers. This is actually clips from a movie starring Charlton Heston called 55 Days at Peking. It's about the events of those 55 days at the capital of Peking. So a little background of this situation is, as in most capital cities, you have your ambassadors stay at the capital, so they're near the seat of government to negotiate and do such things. China had been feeling very taken advantage of in this period, and it's because they were. You had the Opium Wars, you had the Open China policy, you had all these things that were taking over the Great White Fleet. That might have been with Japan, but it also affected China because when the Western powers started settling Southeast Asia, they spread into China. You have the Russians coming down from the north, you have Japan coming down from the east, and then you have all the Western European powers coming in through the east as well. So China at this point is very pacified. The Chinese military at one time was the greatest military in the world, the imperial military. But because of their isolationism, they fell behind in the time. So that's why you're going to see a lot of the people in the video are wearing, old-fashioned outfits. They are not modernized like the Europeans and Japanese. But you had a group of people called the Boxers, which their name wasn't actually the Boxers, but we're going to go more into that in another video. But they were called Boxers because they mainly fought with their fists, as boxers do. So, the Boxers actually originally were opposed to the, I believe it was the Qing dynasty, who was in charge of China at the time. If I'm wrong, as always, feel free to bash me. I'm always okay with it. But, pretty much what happened was they hated the Boxers hated the Westerners, Japan, and the imperial government. But then the Boxers found out that the imperial government also hated the Westerners and Japanese. So, it got to a point that the Empress, the Dowager Empress, who there's a whole lesson about her, she kind of was looking the other way. And then finally, the Boxers, and it's going to say it in the song, were given the okay to attack the foreigners. And the legations, or, the foreign quarter, where the ambassadors were, the foreign legation is what it's called, they decided they were going to stay and hold out. And that's what this song is about. It's about the 55-day struggle that the soldiers of France, England, America, I apologize, I got an email, America, Germany, Italy, Austro-Hungary, uh, Russia, among others, including Japan, stood and fought against the Boxers and the Imperial Chinese military, because they did join at the end, but then they were saved by relief column of coalition army of the great powers. So we're gonna get into this, and I hope you enjoy. Let's do this.
The year was 1900, 'tis worth remembering the men who lived through 55 days at Peking. 'Twas called the Boxer Insurrection, a bloody Oriental war against all nations of the diplomatic corps. The flags of France and Britain, how they fluttered in the breeze, the Italian and the Russian, and the flag of the Japanese. Then came the sound of bugles, the rolling drums of doom, and the streets of Peking were as empty as a tomb.
All right, so they just pretty much gave you the intro. You did have, because Americans, we don't understand in 1900. Yes, Teddy Roosevelt is making America this global power now, but we were really still up and comers. So that's why it's specified France and Britain, because France and Britain were the two superpowers. Then the Italians and the Russians. Italy had just actually become a united kingdom a few decades earlier, and Russia was still one of the greatest superpowers. And then, of course, Japan, which had been slowly creating an empire for itself since the arrival of since the Meiji Restoration. So pretty much what happened on the date in question was the drums were sounded, and pretty much everyone knew it was going to go down. So the Christian Chinese, because this was the thing, the Boxers were killing Christians. So a lot of the Christian Chinese fled to the legation for protection by the Westerners, especially Catholics, because at the time, France, who is the gentleman here on the screen, these are French sailors that were assigned to guard the legation. France was actually the defender of Catholics and Christians in China. So it was their duty to protect them. But as you see, they just charged right in. All right, here we go.
The Empress of all China gave the signal to begin. Let the foreign devils be driven from Peking. They stormed the French legation. They attacked with shot and shell, and they came in blood-red blouses, screaming "Shao!" as they fell. The drums have long been muffled, the bugles cease to ring, but through the ages you can hear them echoing. Boom, boom.
Yeah, so halfway through the 55 days at Peking, and again, I'm going to be more specific in our later videos about this. There came this realization from the Empress that it's either I side with the Boxers and I give them support, give them artillery, give them infantry, give them all these things, or I just let the Westerners run China. Because the other option was pretty much, oh, if the Chinese military can't handle the Boxers, then the Western armies will handle the Boxers, just have the Chinese army stand aside. And at this point, the Empress wanted to make China great again. Not trying to make any political statement there, but she didn't want it to be this docile beast that it had become. And the Boxers were the only thing saying that we can be that again. We can be the master country again. And she finally agreed to it, and against the advice of some of her closest generals, they actually came and said, Your Majesty, this is insane. We can't take on the Western powers. Their military is so much stronger than ours. And she said, no, we're going to do it. So she forced many of the Chinese generals, because again, back then this isn't like modern day where generals can fight with their head of states. This was you obeyed the empress's command. So they handed over artillery to the Chinese, and then they went and fought the coalition force coming to rescue the legation. And you see they stormed the French legation. The French legation actually collapsed. The French suffered pretty bad during the 55 days at Peking. Not saying that the other powers didn't, but the issue was where the French legation was. And again, when we do our later video, we'll have maps and I'll be able to point these things out a little better. Where the French legation was, it was a very weak spot in the defense. So there got to a point that that's where they were concentrating their wave attacks. Because if they could break through there, they can get in. Another problem was the French legation's also where all the Christians were. So when that fell, they had to pull everyone out. It was honestly kind of terrifying. If you, and, the blood red blouses screaming "Shashao," imagine you're just like a private in the army and you're just seeing these waves of men screaming at you, screaming "I want to kill you" over and over again, and just wave attack after wave attack. It must have been daunting for these poor guys. But let's finish it up.
55 days at Peking. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. 55 days at Peking. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. Boom, 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 boom. 55 days at Peking. Boom, 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 boom.
Alright, like I said, this is history music videos. So definitely give him a follow. Again, I'm not getting anything from this video. I'm just using it to begin our series on what it's going to be. But I like that this is the final scene he shows in the video of the relief column coming in. It actually was called a race at the end to see who would make it to Peking first. It was the British, the Americans, and the Russians, I believe, were rushing towards Peking. Now, the thing was, the British actually at this point had the more sizable force, because what they did was they brought their army up, well, not their whole army, but they brought up forces out of India. And in the movie, and honestly, they have the movie on YouTube. I might put it in my link. I don't know if I'm allowed to do that, but I might, because it's a very good movie. But it was actually Indian Lancers and Indian troops that entered Peking for the British, along with U.S. Marines and Russian Imperial soldiers. But that is the 55 Days at Peking song, a very good song. And yeah. Alright, so like I said, this is just going to be the intro. I like doing this instead of the way I used to do intros. For those of you that have been with us since the beginning, I used to just make like a 2-minute video. I like doing this, give a little heads up on what the subject will be. Thank you so much for joining us. As always, please like, share, and comment. And if you're new to the channel, please subscribe. Again, thank you all so much for those of you that stayed while I took my little hiatus. Life gets in the way sometimes, and you gotta just catch up. And, that's what I'm trying to do right now. Thank you so much for watching. If you enjoyed, again, like, share, comment. Please subscribe. And we'll see you in the next one. Thanks. Bye.